Joining me now, Derrick Van Orden, DVO, Congressman, Republican, Wisconsin, District 3, former, spent a long time in the military, Navy SEAL, DVO. Thanks for being with us.
Well, it's nice to talk to you. It's been a little bit.
I know, right? So we got to stop meeting like this in the middle of the morning after a month. We got to get you back onto a regular schedule. Okay, let's get to Minnesota. Let's get to the shooting. The libtards in the media, Vance called them out yesterday, calling this a murder, fake headlines. They asked Vance, well, what about the investigation? And he said, are you an idiot? Did you watch the tape? It's right in front of your nose. That's the investigation. What say you?
Well, there's a 36-year-old mother that's dead because she was radicalized by the left, being told that ICE agents are American Gestapo and that, they're there to kidnap people and all that stuff. So that lady went and she intentionally inserted herself into lawful law enforcement operations and then ran into a federal officer when he was conducting his official duties, and unfortunately she was killed. But if she did not show up thinking that she was doing God's work, which she obviously was not, she'd still be alive today. And so when you are pounding this propaganda about law enforcement being evil and that ICE is acting unlawfully, this is going to happen. So this resides, and it's tragic. I mean, she's a mom. I spent almost 30 years defending Americans, and I don't want to see any American citizen killed. I just don't. But you have to understand that these folks are going to make more and more people do this. She was there rallying. You think about what's taking place in Minneapolis, John. That's the home of the defund the police movement, Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's where all of that garbage started. There are billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of fraud taking place in Minneapolis. And that lady was going there to protest against this? To not round up the Somalis that are here unlawfully, bilking the treasury out of billions of dollars that should be going to American citizens? That's what she was doing? She died for nothing. She died in the commission of a crime. She was running into a federal officer conducting law enforcement operations. And it's just sad. And the left has got to stop.
Derrick Van Orden with us, Congressman.
By the way,
yeah,
I was waiting to do a CNN hit when JD went through his stuff. I watched, because during the day I don't have time to watch all these press conferences. I'm legislating and in meetings and writing things. But I watched the entire press conference because I was waiting there. And he was 100% on, absolutely spot on. And I got into it last night with a Fox reporter who's just being a belligerent turd. How do you know she was radicalized? I'm like, okay, it's not normative behavior for a 36-year-old mom on a random Wednesday to go insert herself into law enforcement issues, block the traffic of ICE agents, and then try to run one over. That's not normative behavior. And it was amazing. This guy was just belligerent last night. This reporter from Fox, I'm like, what are you talking about? How you explain to me how that is normal behavior? It's not. Anyway, it's a terrible issue. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see more of this until the left realizes what they're doing is just wrong. It's legally wrong. It's ethically wrong. It's morally wrong what they're doing.
After seeing the video, do you believe that ICE agent's life was in harm's way by this woman? Was she trying to run him
over? Yes, I do. And listen, that's the same guy who a few months ago got dragged like 300 feet in nearly an identical situation. So put yourself in that guy's, and also, so John, the legal requirement is the officer has to think that their life is in danger, and they don't even actually have to be right. But I agree with this guy's assessment. I mean, that lady ran into him, and you just don't do that. That is weaponizing a vehicle. So it never should have happened.
Never. And you know what? I'm going to bring John Reed in, a former candidate for Lieutenant Governor, Virginia, also part of my network, fills in for me when I'm out. Former radio talk show host in Richmond. John and DVO, what what people aren't even talking about is the first move she made was she jammed the car in reverse, hit the gas, and sped backwards. Now, I doubt she looked in the rear view mirror. If somebody was standing behind that car, they're crippled. Nobody even talks about that. Then she puts it in drive, turns the wheel. You can see it running the tape. Turns the wheel to veer towards the federal agent to run him over. And I don't know what they expect is going to happen here. Before that, they asked her to get out of the car. She locked the doors, and that's when she went in reverse. John Reed, if you don't follow the law, and you basically blow an officer off and do what you want, have you not devolved the country into complete chaos, John Reed?
Well, that's what we've conditioned Americans to think is acceptable if they're on the left for the last decade. And we've been way too tolerant about this. We saw when Donald Trump first started running. I mean, I've been around politics my whole life. People who were just waiting in line to go into the Richmond Coliseum to hear Donald Trump speak were harassed by folks. In other cities, they were berated and pelted with raw eggs and abused and surrounded and bullied. And everybody just kind of shrugged their shoulders like, oh, if we just behave, if we're just nice, if we don't make a big deal out of this, things will return to normal. Where people disagree, listen, I acknowledge everybody's going to disagree. It's 335 million people. We're not all going to agree, but we cannot get to a place where 1 or 2% or more, even if it's 60%, starts bullying the other people in the community, especially if they're going after cops. And there's just no question. If you saw this video of what happened in Minneapolis, and it was a different scenario in the parking lot of some grocery store, because everybody videotapes everything now,
right?
And take the police officer narrative out of it and just say it was two customers, and you saw customer number one try to back up and run over customer number two over some dispute at some ghetto grocery store.
Yeah.
You can bet that the lawyers would be all over it, like, oh, this is attempted vehicular manslaughter.
Yeah,
I mean, this
exactly.
is crazy.
I mean, look, you absolutely nailed it. DVO, let's get to the fraud in Minnesota. I mean, you're right next door. Have you ever seen anything like this? And what is your assessment?
Well, I've seen things similar to this because I worked in East Africa for 9 months. So this is a cultural thing. I mean, it truly is. Governor Walz, there's no way he's not complicit in this. No way. And Keith Ellison, the attorney general there's no way they're not complicit in this. And the issue is, from the political aspect, if you don't get the Somali vote in the state of Minnesota, you don't win a statewide election.
Right.
And that money, it did in a very minuscule way come out of Tim Walz and Keith Ellison's pockets from paying taxes. But all of that money, they don't care about that. So many people up here in D.C. and in these state governments don't care about blowing your taxpayers' dollars. So for them, from their perspective, Ellison and Walz's perspective, the federal government was essentially funding their political campaigns by paying off the Somalis and having them ignore it.
Yeah.
It's shameful. Look, everybody's talking about how healthcare is not affordable. It's not. How we want daycare for kids so that people can go to work and all that. You're going to be $9 to $18 billion that could have been actually spent legitimately to help lower healthcare costs and to help pay for daycare and transport people to doctor's appointments. All of that money could have gone to an actual legitimate use, and it didn't because these politicians in Minnesota wanted to maintain their office. Now, take Minnesota and think about the size of that relatively, and then blow it up to California and to Illinois and to New York. We're talking about hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars that have been wasted over the decades in these blue states, and it's going to stop now.
Good. Congressman, imagine if we told the average suburbanite who really doesn't like this. It's uncomfortable for them. It brings up racial issues, and it blows their idea that everybody's the same around the world. We're not supposed to believe that they're different cultures. We all just, diversity is our strength. Imagine if we said those trillions of dollars could change your life. The roads you ride on that have potholes, the dumpy airports that we have in the United States compared to other parts of the world where you go, oh my God, they've moved into a different century than the one we're in. All the things that could make life better for all of us. Talk about collectivism. that normal societies funnel that money to do so that we all can live a better life. We're throwing it away by handing it out to individual people who are not pulling their weight in society. And I think that might change the emotional reaction of, oh, this is racism. You're going after people just because they're a different color or you don't like where they're from, to, wow, my life could be better if we actually were better stewards of the federal funds. That we got to turn people's minds around on this thing.
Well, I think that their eyes are being opened now.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's 2026 now, and people keep playing this race card, and it's just not true. It's not. Al Sharpton really got that kicking off with the Tawana Brawley thing, and we've just fallen for it. We're very courteous people. Americans are courteous people. And we don't want to be called a racist or a homophobic person or Islamophobic or any of that stuff. We don't want to be called that. And our altruism is being abused by people that don't care about these things.
That's right.
And it simply has got to stop. We need to make sure that we focus every single tax dollar that we have to the purpose that is outlined through Congress, because we represent the people of the United States. So when we write laws, that's where the money needs to go to. And if we can get back to that, things are getting better right now in this economy, and they're really going to take off when we have these extra, and I say extra kind of facetiously, when we have these extra billions of dollars that are going, we're funding Al-Shabaab through daycare centers in Minneapolis.
Unbelievable.
Once that stops, it's just crazy. So when that stops and we can refocus the economy on where it needs to be, you're going to be able to have affordable health care. You're going to be able to have affordable daycare. You're going to be able to make sure that our elderly folks are taken care of properly. That's the stuff that we're supposed to be doing. The military's funded all that. But we've got to absolutely stop this fraud. And Republicans are laser focused on making things actually affordable.
No question.
That's what we're doing up here. It's kind of frustrating, but
let me ask
we're on the right track.
DVO, you guys passed an overhaul the other day of ACA, the healthcare of the Obamacare system. Then last night, 17 Republicans went with the Democrats to extend the Obamacare's tax subsidies. What was it, 2 or 3 year period? I was in favor of a 1 year off ramp. I backed Jen Kagan's bill, Morgan Griffith, but 17 Republicans went with that. What's going to happen now? It goes to the Senate. Does it have legs there? Can they get 60 votes? What do you see happening with that?
I was one of those 17. I voted for that. Last night, I did. You know why? Because 60,000 Wisconsinites got jammed by Democrats. And you think about this. Why did Chuck Schumer shut down the government? Several reasons. One, terrified of being primaried by AOC. That was his primary thing. 2, he thought Republicans would fold. We didn't. 3, they wanted to cut the legs out so we couldn't get legislation done to put in real practical fix for the Unaffordable Care Act. They cut almost 50 days out of our calendar. And so I voted for that stuff. We're working on legislation, which I did it with thrown up in my mouth because that's way overboard. But we cannot allow our American citizens to lose their health care coverage because Democrats' foolishness. So we will get.
I would vote for it too. I mean, I was in favor of extending this thing from day one. Jen Kagan's your colleague, who's on with us, by the way, at 9:35 from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Kagan started ringing this bell back last May. Last May, she started talking about what's our plan. She was right. And some of the people in the Freedom Caucus backed this, Griffith being one of them. That's on my show all the time. So you just can't raise people's rates in one day. They have to understand what's going on. We never did that but it's going to get to the Senate. What happens now?
Well, hopefully they trim it up a bit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that this bill in this form will pass through the Senate. And the end state for me is this: readily available, high quality, actually affordable health care. That's what we need to be doing. So in the SEAL teams, you start with an end state. So that's my end state: readily available, high quality, actually affordable health care. Now you got a backwards plan to where we are today. And so we have a bunch of legislation ready to go for PBM reforms. That's pharmacy benefit management reform. We have to make sure that we have transparency in healthcare pricing. We have to have individual healthcare insurance savings accounts. We need to look at the structure of the actual insurance companies, because what they've done is they've vertically integrated themselves. So the federal government gives the medical insurance companies a ton of money. The insurance companies hire physicians. They have the PBM managers in between the physician and the pharmaceutical companies. And then you have the pharmaceutical company itself. So the insurance company gets the money, pays the doctor prescribes the medicine, the PBM that's in the middle inflates the price tremendously, and then they get the actual pharmaceutical itself. To me, we need to look at that from an antitrust perspective. That's one of the primary reasons this stuff is so expensive. And the healthcare on the other side isn't necessarily better. So we're paying for healthcare insurance, not healthcare. And people don't seem to understand the difference. You know who understands the difference? The Democrats do, because they're getting millions and millions of dollars from the health insurance companies. That's what's going on. And so you can't fix that by continuing to throw a bunch of money at the health insurance company. That's what these subsidies are doing. But you're absolutely correct, John. You can't just flip a switch and say, hey, your premiums are going to go up 1,000% tomorrow. You can't do that. So we're taking the best bite out of a horrible sandwich that we possibly can. And I'm always going to put American citizens first. And if you think I enjoyed casting that vote, you're wrong. Because I want to make sure that we have actual solutions, not just we're putting a Band-Aid on a severed limb.
I appreciate your candor on this. This is one reason why and this is not a criticism of you at all, Congressman, but this is one reason why, if you rewind the clock, you got to have people who will stop bad ideas from becoming federal code, because it's almost impossible to get rid of it. Once people start expecting something from the government, once a plan like this is put in place, you can never get rid of it. You've conditioned the public. As you say, I mean, what kind of a person wants someone who's the average American just working on a daily basis to wake up and find out that their premiums have doubled or tripled and they can't pay them? Now the whole point of healthcare funded by the government doesn't exist anymore. I think the Democrats are cynical enough to have foreseen this and created a system that would collapse, because they're looking for totally federally funded healthcare in the United States, and this is their way of getting it.
Well, they want the single payer system.
That's
but
right.
The frustration, and this is why I agree with Derrick Van Orden. Like, got a lot of text here today criticizing Rob Whitman. I agree with Whitman. Kiggins is on at 9:30. I agree with her. But my frustration, Derrick Van Orden, with this is Jen Kiggins has been talking about this since freaking May of 25. 8 months, like having a baby. She's been saying, what is the plan? What's the off-ramp? I want a year. Let's cap it at $125,000. Let's make sure it's $5. You got to put $5 in, so we're not having, people scamming, getting insurance companies getting money for phantom things. May, June, July, August, September. It finally runs out, and now their backs are against the wall, and now they pass something for 3 years. And that's the frustration we all have.
Like, well, once you realize, John, that the Democrats always do well when they create a crisis,
of course,
because that's when they jam things.
Yeah,
then
we're creating the crisis
deliberately.
But we had control of all three.
Yeah.
We had control of the House, and no bill was put forward until the final minute. And it's not like somebody got up one day and said, holy crap, these subsidies are running out and people's premiums are going to go up. We shut the government down over it, and you still didn't come up with anything until 2 days ago. I mean, Derek, that's what frustrates people. It's like, who the hell's in charge in there? You know, we all love Mike Johnson glasses, nice guy, but like, why wasn't this addressed in June?
Well, let's remember that I'm one of those people. When you say you're frustrated, try being in a place where allegedly you could have influence over these things and not being able to influence it. Do you know how frustrated Jen was about this? I mean, she's one of my best friends up here, and she is a rock star. It's very frustrating. When we sometimes we take up these bills that you're like, why are we doing this right now? Like, why aren't we making sure that the big wheels of the government are being taken care of, that the military is funded, that Border Patrol is funded, that we actually have infrastructure, that you don't have to worry about a bridge collapsing or a dam failing on the Mississippi River where I live? You know, why do we have all this crap in our water itself? Why don't we have clean drinking water and sewage treatment facilities? You know, that's the sort of stuff the federal government should be working on. But if you look at some of these bills that have been coming up, you know, they're not that. And you're absolutely correct. You know, this should have been addressed a significant time ago. And Jen was the bellwether on this.
Congressman, when you're in the caucus meetings, and you must raise this issue, I'm sure Congresswoman Kiggins does too. I mean, I know a lot of the folks who were up there who were very worried about it. What is the response from leadership when you all say, hey, this is coming, we're going to get crushed, or we're going to look bad? What do they say about that?
All right, so I want actual reform.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that I'm bringing up are PBM reform, transparency and pricing. We've got to get that done. The vertical integration of health insurance companies. So those, I'm looking at this reform stuff. Jen was looking at it as making sure that we have enough time to actually get the reform done. I was hopeful that the reform would have been done. I was wrong. Like, when we were saying we should have had this bill passed to extend this a long time ago, I think we should have had the actual reforms done to make sure that the problem is solved. But, you know, here's one of the problems is that traditionally Republicans, if you say healthcare, they dive out the window, you know what I mean, and then hide in a bush, which I think is absolutely foolish, because we are the people that write good policy. We're fiscally responsible people. So having fiscally responsible policy in regards to healthcare, Republicans should own that, and we are now taking ownership of it. And we should have done that decades ago.
Bingo.
Republicans took healthcare on as like their pet project, and Republicans ran away from it. And I just think that's stupid.
Because they're afraid.
So the worm has turned. This was a big subject when we had our policy symposium when the president came over to the Trump Kennedy Center. Like, hey, everybody, guess what? We have really, really great ideas, and we have the ability to influence government now. So let's act on it. That was a huge part of our symposium. So I think you're going to see, I know you're going to see a sea change here about how Republicans are approaching health care. We just got to do it. I mean, we got to quit. We have to be more bold. God calls us to be bold and take bold action. If you think it was easy for me to cast that vote last night, you are absolutely wrong. You know
well, you got,
what,
11 months left.
Action.
You got 11 months left. And some of us out in the echo sphere have been saying, hey, this is the moment to say, here are the 10, 20, 30 proposals that are written, drafted, vetted, that we're going to push through, that the president has said he will sign them if we get him to his desk, and show the American public that the legislative work can get done, which will be an argument.
Then get rid of the filibuster in the Senate, and you're good to go. And then DVO, when you get reelected, the good news is there'll be no more Chip Roy. He's running for Attorney general, good riddance. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. So maybe you guys can actually get things done if you can hold the House. But I'm with Reed. I think there needs to be a Newt Gingrich contract with America coming up for these midterms, because nobody knows what the hell you guys stand for now. And I don't mean you personally, but the Republicans in Congress. Nothing's getting done. What do you stand for? What are you going to do? It's all over the board. And there's no, to the average American, like, you've been in charge, you've been there a year. Now we're going on to, what have you done, or what are you going to do? You control all three branches of government and the Supreme Court. You haven't gotten anything done other than the one
That's
big
the
beautiful
perception.
bill.
Yeah.
That's why people are frustrated. And the Chip
Well,
Roys of the world are part of it, because you can't get anything done when he's like deep six and everything, and they're in the Freedom Caucus, which I'm not a fan of, as you know.
Right. So, I mean, I actually disagree with your characterization of us not getting anything done. The one big beautiful bill was actually a phenomenal piece of that's the most significant piece of legislation that has gone through the House, and I don't even know when something else that big went through. That was tremendous. I personally have gotten 2 bills signed into law, John, helping our veterans out. So we're doing a lot of stuff here in Congress. We actually are. It's just not a lot of big, sexy things, But you're absolutely correct. We need to redefine ourselves, or actually, we just need to tell people what we're doing and what we are standing for. Like my thing, it's my mantra. I want readily available, high quality, actually affordable health care. You know what I mean? Like, I want that to happen. I want our secure borders. Now the borders are secured. That's a tremendous accomplishment by the Trump administration, facilitated by Congress. So we are getting stuff done here, but you're right. Democrats are fantastic at politics. Republicans are great at policy. So we need to find the sweet spot. And Lisa McClain up here is changing the way that we actually talk. The people were never encouraged to speak to the media. I've done 2 or 3 interviews with CNN. They reached out, I don't know how many times. I'm not talking to those guys. And finally I go to Lisa, and I go, hey, Lisa, should I do CNN interviews? And she's like, yeah, you should, because there's people that watch CNN that don't actually know what's going on. You got to tell them the truth. So we're reaching out to all these different things. We're getting much more involved in social media. But we need to do more of it so that people understand what we're actually accomplishing up here. I mean, it's right. It's a basic communications issue with the Republicans traditionally. And we're so far behind with the social media thing, we're just catching up.
How's your real?
I have confidence, dude.
How's your real life?
The one big beautiful. It's going to be very tight.
Tell me about your real election campaign, and then I'll turn it over to Reed, and we'll go. Go ahead.
It's going to be very, very tight. I'm a top-tier targeted candidate by the Democrats. They've already spent over $2.5 million in advertising against me, and we're still, a year out or so. I'm running against the same person that I ran against before, who is a prolific fundraiser, rather, because she's a fundraiser pretending to be a small-town girl. And these folks, I've learned, John, they're going to do anything they possibly can for power. And I am at the tip of their spear, so to speak. They want to take me out and get this seat. But we've put everything into place to do a very, very effective campaigning. And, I'm cranking at it. But I'll be honest, man. I love helping my constituents. I mean, I got a guy out of prison in China. The family didn't want to make it public, so we didn't make it public. We've gotten millions of dollars back that people are owed to by the federal government. I've got some incredible projects for clean water. I don't do any fluff of these earmarks. It's all hardcore infrastructure stuff. We got that done for our folks, and I'm very proud of that work. But the rest of this job, I really don't like it. You know what I mean? That my family's threatened by, there's active investigations by the FBI, the Counterterrorism Center, but again, for death threats against my family. I spent a lot of time away from home, and I spent 16 years away from home in the military. Mm-hmm. So that part of the job I don't like, but I also understand this.
Your family was safer when you were overseas, probably because we were creating domestic terrorists who will.
I never we never had a single threat to my family as I was hunting terrorists as a Navy SEAL. And I became a Republican congressman, and now my family's being threatened.
That's right.
So I don't like that aspect of the job. But I also know that I can be a very effective person up here for the American people. There's, I think, 37 or 47 bills passed during this first year of the Congress, and 2 of those were mine, which is a significant percentage out of 435 people in Congress. So we're very effective up here. And I'm fighting like hell to make sure that the 77 million Americans that voted for Donald Trump to have 4 years to govern are going to have, they're going to have their way. Their votes will be respected.
I think
so we're in it to win it, John, but thank you.
I know you got to go. Let's take one phone call and I'll let you go. John in Southwest Virginia for Derrick Van Orden. John, you're live.
Hey, thanks. Thanks. Appreciate you taking my call. Yeah, primarily for the congressman, but if either of the other 2 of you there have a response, that would be great. I realize the differences between the House and the Senate, but there's a sense of frustration, I think, out here among a lot of the people that I know on the way that the Senate and the judiciary are bottling up President Trump's nominees for judgeships, for for attorneys, and that. What would you recommend would be one or two of the ideas that would best be able to address that shortfall? How could he get them through, short of of the Senate arbitrarily on its own deciding to go out and on recess? So for the recess appointments, how can he get them through? He's operating at only about a third of what his capacity is.
Yeah. So John, the John Thune, who is the leader in the Senate, waived the filibuster out of frustration for these political appointees. And what's happening is the Democrat Party wants to handicap President Trump. You're absolutely correct. So what they did is they objected to every single person that Trump wanted into office, and they got so frustrated in the Senate that they waived the filibuster. I personally think that when a president of the United States is elected, and this is constitutional, they get to pick who they want in office. And I think that the Senate should be able to review them because they're supposed to. That's in the Constitution. But they should not have de facto veto power or the ability to slow roll. The reason the Founding Fathers put that provision in the Constitution is to just make sure you don't have some, absolutely crazy person getting into a position of power. I don't think our Founding Fathers ever thought Chuck Schumer would be the leader of the Senate and try to completely stop the ability of the president to staff his offices.
I mean, they just bottleneck everything. I mean, the Democrats don't have majorities anywhere, and they seem to get the upper hand with this stuff because they outmaneuver us. And, the only way to get
they're playing a different game, John. The resistance was real when they talked about creating a bureaucratic resistance in the first term. They did that. Now they're not promoting it the same way. But listen, we should take these Democrats seriously. The activists and the think tanks and the legislators who have a D behind their name who say we will be ungovernable. That is what they're doing. They are trying to jam this up, and they're running out the clock. And the frustration that I've got is Trump won the first term. It was humiliating to work and give money and promote Trump and put up with all the backlash that we had to suffer through and then not get things done in that first 2 years when it was a miracle that God gave us the opportunity to save the country, and we were too timid to jam things through. And I hate to use that language. And it seems like, with the exception of some of the things that you would reference, Congressman, in the big, beautiful bill, that there's a timidity that's preventing us from being like an army. Let's get this done. And then you got another 2 years where we may lose the midterms, but at least the president, assuming he can stay in office, can hold the line. I know that's what the Democrats did on a micro level in the Commonwealth of Virginia when they had a Democrat governor like Ralph Northam. Jam it through. Whatever happens in the midterms, we're going to hold the line with the Democrat governor. Nothing's going to change, no matter how much the Republicans scream. We should take a lesson from that.
Right. All right, Derrick Van Orden, Congressman, Wisconsin, Republican, Main Street Caucus, District 3. DVO, I'm going to give you the final word, and we're going to let you go. Go ahead, sir.
You're absolutely correct. Republicans need to be bold. And I'm telling you right now, I have seen a sea change. I've been in Congress now for a grand total of 3 years. Last Congress was two of the most frustrating years of my life because of the intransigence of some of the members of my own party. That is changing. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get some more things done that are going to be very, very impressive for the American people. But I don't sit idly by. You guys know that. And I encourage you guys to encourage other Republicans to stand strong because we do have the best ideas and the best policies. We just have to action them. That's how Obamacare got passed to begin with, by the way, gentlemen. This whole mess that we're in right now, 100% Democrat votes, and they said, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. I didn't care what Republicans said. So I've been really contemplating this whole filibuster thing because if we don't act now, I don't know that we're going to be able to after the midterms. And what I mean by that is we're going to win the midterms, but if we don't act now and show that we can do it boldly, then we'll just be the same timid guys, even when we do maintain the House. That's the issue. So we got to change our behavior patterns and become more bold now, just as God tells us to do. But that's about it, man. It's great to talk to you. I appreciate you having me on again, and let's make it a regular deal again.
DVO, truth and clarity, baby. That's what this whole thing is about. I love to you, your family, your wife. We will talk soon. I'll pop by soon when I get back from wherever I'm going next week, Richmond or something, right? Reed's going to be there.
All right.
Thanks for being with us. People want to follow you on social media. Where do they go?
They should go to vanordenforcongress.com, vanordenforcongress.com, at Derrick Van Orden on X, and at Derrick Van Orden on Facebook.
Derrick, thanks for being with us. John Reed, John Fredericks, Joe Morrissey, Virginia Gang is next. Jen Kiggins, 9:30. She was right last year. She was right in May. She's right now. And for all you Kiggins naysayers out there, the chick was right for the whole year. So, stick that in your pipe and smoke it. John Fredericks Media Network. We'll be right back.